Hi, this is Rachel Pasilan. I am a student of BSBE HRM from AMA Online University, and presently I'm studying a labor law and legislation course. Today, I'm presenting one of the controversial case verdicts by the Supreme Court of Manila back in 1961. For the case of labor dispute between Cebu Portland Cement Company versus Cement Workers Union Local 7 ALU. Let's have an overview of the case. The case involved a labor dispute between the Cebu Portland Cement Company and its workers, who were presented by the Cement Workers Union Local 7 ALU. The union had demanded a higher wages and better working condition for its members, but the company refused to meet their demands. As a result, the union called for a strike, which the company challenged in court. The Courts of Industrial Relations issued an order declaring the strike illegal and ordering the workers to return to work. However, the union defied the order and the company sought an injunction to enforce it. The Supreme Court of Manila eventually ruled in favor of the company and granted the injunction, declaring the strike illegal and ordering the workers to return to work. The court held that the strike was not conducted in accordance with the law, as the union failed to follow the required procedures for a lawful strike. The court further held that the union's demands for a higher wages and better working conditions were not unreasonable, but that the union failed to negotiate in good faith with the company. The court also criticized the union for resorting to violence and intimidation during the strike, which further undermined the legality of their action. Evidences and facts of union unrespondence. Under the Philippine law, the labor dispute are regulated by the Labor Code of the Philippines, which provides for the rights of workers and the responsibilities of the employers. The law requires that all labor dispute be resolved through the process of collective bargaining, which involves negotiations between the employer and the union representing the workers. The Cebu Portland Cement Company case, the union had demanded higher wages and better working conditions for its members, which were not unreasonable demands according to the Supreme Court's decision. However, the court found that the union did not negotiate in good faith with the company and failed to follow the required procedures for a lawful strike. On the other hand, the company was also obligated to comply with the labor laws and standards in the Philippines, including providing fair wages and safe working conditions for its employees. The court did not find evidence of any violation of labor laws by the company. Counterclaims. The company claimed that the union strike was illegal and violated the rules and procedures for conducting a lawful strike. The company also argued that the union did not negotiate in good faith with the company and had made unreasonable demands that were not justified by the conditions of the business. Respondents' counterclaims. The union argued that they had the right to strike as a form of collective bargaining and that the company had not addressed their legitimate grievances regarding wages and working conditions. The union claimed that the company had engaged in unfair labor practices by intimidating and threatening union members and interfering with their right to organize. Court's decision. The Court of Industrial Relations initially declared the strike illegal and ordered the workers to return to work. The Supreme Court of Manila ultimately ruled in favor of the company and granted the injunction, declaring the strike illegal and ordering the workers to return to work. The court held that the union did not follow the required procedures for a lawful strike and did not negotiate in good faith with the company. The court also found that the company did not violate any labor laws or standards and that the union demands were not unreasonable, but the union failed to prove that the company engaged in unfair labor practices. Analyzing the decision of different level of court's judgment. In this case, the decisions of the different levels of courts were crucial in arriving at a sound judgment. Firstly, the Court of Industrial Relations' initial decision declaring the strike illegal and ordering the workers to return to work provided the basis for subsequent legal proceedings. This decision was based on an assessment of whether the union had followed the required procedures for a lawful strike, which included giving notice to the employer and the Department of Labor and Employment and participating in conciliation proceedings. Secondly, the Supreme Court of Manila decision to grant the company's injunction and declare the strike illegal was based on a thorough examination and evidence and the legal arguments presented by both parties. The court considered the union claims for unfair labor practices and the company's arguments regarding the legality of the strike. The court also looked at the union's failure to follow the required procedures for a lawful strike and negotiate in good faith with the company. Overall, the decision of the different levels of courts contributed to the sound judgment of this case by ensuring that the parties' actions were in compliance with the regulatory framework and business standards of the Philippines. The court's careful examination of the evidence and arguments presented by both parties helped ensure that the final decision was fair and just. The court's decision helped establish legal precedent and standards for labor disputes in the Philippines and helped ensure that the rights of workers and employers are respected and protected. My ideas and opinions based on the regulatory framework and legal issues related to the case. The Philippines has a well-defined regulatory framework for labor disputes that is designed to protect the rights of workers and promote fair and equitable labor practices. This framework includes the Labor Codes of the Philippines, which sets out the rights and responsibilities of employers and workers, as well as the procedures for resolving labor disputes through collective bargaining, conciliation, and arbitration. In this case, the court had to consider whether both parties and the company and the union complied with the regulatory framework and business standards in the Philippines. The court had to determine whether the union followed the required procedures for conducting a lawful strike and whether they negotiated in good faith with the company. The court also had to consider whether the company complied with labor laws and standards in the Philippines, including providing fair wages and safe working conditions for its employees. The court's decision ultimately reflected the importance of following the regulatory framework and legal issues related to labor disputes in the Philippines. The court's ruling helped establish legal precedent and standards for future labor disputes and help ensure that the rights of both workers and employers are respected and protected. Case study analysis based on the above-mentioned facts and evidences. The disputed case between the Cebu Portland Cement Company and the Cement Workers Union, Local 7 ALU, over the collective bargaining agreement. The union had gone on strike, claiming that the company had engaged in unfair labor practices. However, the company had obtained an injunction from the Supreme Court of Manila declaring the strike illegal and ordering the workers to return to work. One of the key issues in the case was whether the union had followed the proper procedures for conducting a lawful strike. The court found that the union had failed to give proper notice to the company and the Department of Labor and Employment before going on strike, and had also failed to participate in conciliation proceedings. The court also found that the union had not negotiated in good faith with the company. Another issue in the case was whether the company had engaged in unfair labor practices. The union had alleged that the company had discriminated against union members and had failed to provide fair wages and safe working conditions. However, the court found that the company had not engaged in any unfair labor practices and had complied with labor laws and standards in the Philippines. Overall, the case underscores the importance of following the regulatory framework and legal issues related to labor disputes in the Philippines. It is crucial that both workers and employers comply with the Labor Code of the Philippines and follow the proper procedures for resolving labor disputes through collective bargaining, conciliation, and arbitration. In conclusion, the Cebu Portland Cement Company versus Cement Workers Union Local 7 ALU case highlights the need for both workers and employers to adhere the labor laws and regulations in the Philippines. By doing so, they can ensure that the disputes are resolved in a fair and just manner, and that the rights of workers and employers are protected. Thank you for watching. Stay healthy and blessed. Take care and goodbye.